When did your something is very wrong here gut instinct turn out to be right? Freshman year of college, a friend and I were driving across town and he stopped for gas. It wasn't a dangerous part of town or anything, just a quiet gas station with an old book out front. But this feeling came over me that we needed to get out of there. I tried to shake the feeling by making a joke. This feels like somewhere an axe murderer would hide out. My friend immediately gunned it out of there without filling up. He said he had the same feeling and me bringing it up too scared the crap out of him. On the way home there were about 20 police cars outside. It turns out some guy shot 2 people in a carjacking and robbery. The book was the car he stole. I was walking home, and a woman approached me to ask for directions. I told her how to get where she wanted to go, but she didn't walk that way, but instead walked beside me, and kept pace with me. This made me incredibly uncomfortable, so I said, "Have a nice day," and doubled my speed, not running, but outpacing her significantly. A moment later, I heard running footsteps. I must have instinctively gripped my purse strap, because I held onto it as she ran by, and tried to snatch it. We ended up tussling for a moment. I shouted very loudly, "Help! She's stealing my purse." Neighbors came outside, causing her to walk away. She did not get my purse. Driving with a friend of mine through a pretty remote forest road. Couple of guys in the middle of nowhere tried flagging us down. I almost stopped for them before an alarm went off in my head, and I stepped on the gas. My friend started saying what the fuck, and at the same time there was a shot and a bullet hit the back of the car. We made it to a police station. Turns out there had been a bunch of people and vehicles going missing in the area that same week. I stopped off at a dollar store to get last minute stuff for my niece's birthday party, foil or napkins or something. I went to the one I had never been to, in a seedy part of town. There weren't many other people there, since it was a Sunday afternoon. A luxury car pulls up, and this gorgeous man gets out and starts trying to catch my eye, like he wanted to ask directions. Dream come true, right? Except my gut started screaming run for no reason. I pretended I didn't see him and got in my car and left. The next morning I see on the news that 3 people were murdered in Charleston. They were all connected to one dude. One of their cars was stolen, and the serial killer was on the loose heading west through my area. Guess who the suspect was? Yep, the dude I'd seen. They arrested him after he'd kidnapped a girl in August of the same night I saw him, and she managed to escape. Still gives me goosebumps. What if I'd stopped and talked to him? I'm a type 1 diabetic. I began noticing that my kid was having a tough time potty training. He was drinking a lot and peeing a lot. I spoke with his pet about it, and she dismissed it, saying we live in a warm area and toddlers are likely to drink more, and therefore pee more, and that I shouldn't hear hoofbeats and assume zebras. He had no other symptoms whatsoever. Happy, healthy looking little dude. I tried to calm myself down, but I just knew something wasn't right. Finally I took one of his massively full pull-ups and used a keto strip to check his urine, and then proceeded to head right to the hospital. He was diagnosed in November 2015. Got him a new pediatrician immediately. Laid eyes on my sister's then boyfriend and instantly hated him. I then noticed one of our dogs acted out of character around him, which made me hate him even more. We found out a year later the boyfriend had been beating her regularly. Edit, he was beating my sister, not the dog. We had a dog that was super uneasy around my mom's husband. Always barking, never seemed to warm up to him, no matter how hard he tried. He's a nice enough guy, just strange I guess. And then he had a stroke. Ever since then my dog loves him. The second he comes over he is in his lap. So strange. Less dramatic than a lot of others, but nonetheless. Near my old apartment there was a back road that you would take to get to Target. However, you had to go through one stoplight that was just on the other side of a hill's crest. From my side, the view is slightly blocked by a building towards the hill's high side. I pull up to the light and wait for it to turn green. It turns, and I wait for a second. The person behind me even honks, but something held me back. Before I can even think about starting to go, one of the open trailer trucks used to move construction equipment comes flying through their red lighting at probably 40 to 50 miles per hour. Not sure if I would have been hit or someone else, but I'm glad I didn't go. Went to see fireworks one time. As I was watching I got a bad feeling being as close as I was, and even wondered how many people have died from fireworks. Not even 30 seconds later one of the launch pipes for the fireworks tipped or something. All I remember were fireworks launching and exploding right in my direction, and one of the firework tails whizzing right past my head, then me running away like mad. A dude named Jeff. He spoke in a way I can't describe, but was generally speaking just like wrong sounding. He always gave me bad vibes when I was around him, and he ended up being a nice guy and got stalker level obsessed with the girl I was dating. I pulled into a gas station around 8 to 9 p.m. That wasn't in a ghost town or anything, but it was insanely dark due to the time of year. As I pull towards one of the pumps, I see this dude slowly pacing near the entrance of the convenience store, and we make eye contact. I quickly pulled the car to another pump towards one of the entrances to the gas station, trying to be safer, but thinking I'm probably just being paranoid. Once I sit there for a minute and decide to put my car in park, he quickly rushes to my car. By the time I'm back in drive and peel out through the entrance into an oncoming lane, luckily no traffic, I saw him pulling out what looked like a large knife out of his jacket. I'm glad I didn't disregard my gut. I was on my way to work when I had this horrible pain that brought me to my knees. I got up, messaged my significant other that something was wrong, and I was going to the ER. Doc sees me, dismisses it as period cramps. I demand an ultrasound. Sure enough I had 2 cysts on my ovaries. One on the left the size of a baseball, the other had ruptured, and was estimated to be slightly larger than a golf ball, and had caused internal bleeding. I got rushed into surgery to get fixed up. If I hadn't have gotten that ultrasound chances are I would have died. Don't let doctors tell you you're hysterical. Happened when I was in 8th grade. My teacher told me that my mom called. My mom said that she left the keys to the house in the vase. I knew something was up because this has never happened before. The teacher didn't tell me anything else. For the whole day of school I had a gut feeling that something was wrong. Turns out my grandma and my 1.5-year-old baby brother was hit by a taxi and was rushed to the hospital. A friend's mom was hitchhiking when she was pretty young in the 70s. A handsome man picked her up and was pretty charming and offered to take her where she needed to go. She mentioned something about his over-friendliness, gave her an uneasy feeling, and when he stopped for gas not long into her drive, she slipped out of the car while he was paying. It wasn't until a few years later that she saw his face on the TV and realized she had been picked up by Ted Bundy. My mom had a coworker who seemed like a decent guy. Everyone at their work liked him, and he even helped fix our car one day. When asked how I felt about him, I told them there was something off about him. I didn't know what it was, but I couldn't stand him. A couple weeks later, he was arrested. Turns out he was breaking into houses and robbing people. The last house he broke into he attacked a woman. I'm a big believer in trusting your gut when it tells you something is wrong. Once when I was in 1st grade I had been having neck pains for about a week. I went to the nurse about 3 times and she said I was fine. I told my parent how long I had been having the pains and they took me to a hospital. When I was rushed to the hospital and had immediate surgery for a neck infection. BTW forgot to mention by a lot of adults at the time. Said it was just growing pains, but I just had that damn gut feeling. 5 years ago I walked into my house from school and immediately felt uncomfortable. There were papers on the floor, mail and such, and my parents would never leave the house like that. Something felt so wrong that I ran outside and walked around my house to see the back door open. My neighbor saw me being weird and asked if we had anyone over because she saw people she didn't know go in my house earlier. Called the cops. They were still inside with a gun, looking for prescriptions and anything valuable. Thank you for watching Internet's Funniest. Please like, share, and subscribe.